In his latest attempt to destroy the Autobots, Megatron has created the Stunticons to rule the roads. To give them personalities, Megatron took them to Vector Sigma, the master computer which gives all Transformers life. But now Optimus Prime has a plan of his own.
Thank you, Victor Caroli, but even with your awesome voice, I don't really buy that Optimus Prime has a plan that'll be worth a damn. In fact, it's every bit as imaginative as you might expect from the big dumb guy. Megatron built cars, so let's build some planes. But while it's not terribly inspired, I have to admit it's not a bad idea. You'll recall from the previous episode that Megatron took off with the key to Vector Sigma, as seen in the title of this very episode. Fortunately, Alpha Trion is a first-generation product of Vector Sigma and can merge with it. Which doesn't exactly make sense, but it resembles something that does, so I'll buy it. The upshot is, the guy that should be leading the Autobots, the one with the actual wisdom, is now effectively dead. Now he lives inside this glowing ball. It should have been Prime, man. Bet that'll happen soon enough. Oh, and as he argues in favor of sacrificing himself for the greater good, Alpha Trion tips the fact that he's Prime's creator, which I think is supposed to be a secret still. Hey, that reminds me. We're back on Cybertron and Prime hasn't bothered looking up his girlfriend, Alita 1. What a jerk. Oh, so anyway, here are the AAlgars, which is a much better name than Stunticons, I have to say.
I used to be a courier ship, but now I think I'm Silverbolt.
And I'm Air Raid.
Jeez, what is this place? Who are you guys?
Who are you?
Oh, right. I'm Fireflight.
I'm Skydive.
I'm Slingshot. Used to be a speed shuttle. Now I'm the fastest, smartest, hottest jet you ever saw.
Jeez, he's not overcompensating or anything. So wait, these guys remember being the shuttles that the Autobots rebuilt them from? Let's think about this for a minute. The Stunticons didn't say a thing about remembering what it was like to be cars on Earth. This probably means that the AAlbots were built from the corpses of dead Autobots. That's the only way to really explain why they would have any memories of their previous forms. And that's just awesome. Oh, so it turns out the key to Vector Sigma, as seen in the title of this very episode, has different properties on Earth. Shockwave overhears this part, and doing the only thing he does well, immediately tattles to Megatron. So the Autobots head home inside Omega Supreme, and Prime catches them up with the story so far. Something tells me he leaves out every time they built a Frankenstein for Spike's brain to live in, or the time the entire Autobot army was defeated by an overweight Englishman, or the time... Oops, I have a time limit here. You get the idea. Now here's a rare confusing turn in an otherwise solid story. When Omega Supreme lands, he explodes. No explanation. He just couldn't handle the trip to Cybertron and back. So he explodes. I guess I shouldn't be so sentimental. Things explode every day. So Ratchet gets to work fixing the big guy. Meanwhile, his brain is kept alive by this machine. But for some reason, they decide not to put it inside a patchwork body made of dead humans. Weird. Oh, here's one of those times where I remembered wrong and criticized the show where it didn't deserve it. In the previous episode, I said this whole bit with the humans mistrusting the Autobots doesn't go anywhere. I was wrong. And I apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused you or your immediate family. So the humans shoot at the Autobots on sight, because as we learned in Megatron's master plan, all it takes is the appearance of impropriety one time to cancel out years of goodwill on the Autobots' part. The AAlbots, being new to humans, react the way any sensible robot should, by wanting to kill them. But Optimus Prime stops them. Lame. Oh, but here come the Stunticons, and an awesome fight scene that I can't think of any snarky comments for.
Those guys are out of their cotton-picking heads.
I say, Prime, we should fight these Decepticons. Fight them, that is. During the course of the fight, Slingshot gets into trouble and calls for Silverbolt to help him. And we discover that Silverbolt is scared of heights, meaning that Vector Sigma, knowing full well that he turns into a plane, made him scared of heights. That's just hilarious. When the battle's over and Silverbolt is beating himself up over the whole thing, Prime decides to make him leader of the AAlbots. Egad, Prime! Brilliant! Wait, no. Meanwhile, the Decepticons are checking out the key to Vector Sigma, as seen in the title of this very episode. They can't see anything particularly special about it until, whoops, you clumsy... Hey, look at that! It turns organic matter into metal. Now that's an awesome weapon. As Megatron says, he can turn the Earth into a new Cybertron, which is very cool, except, well, the key is tiny. He has to do one tree at a time. That could take forever. Ooh, and he's only 20 miles from Seattle. That's where I live! So the Autobots take off without a plan to attempt to stop him. And the AAlbots are all, this place sucks, we're not helping them. But then Silverbolt, taking a cue from the brilliant leader that put him in charge, makes some vague, morally superior argument about how since Sparkplug is working hard to save Omega Supreme, all humans everywhere are worth saving. The Autobots, meanwhile, fight the Stunticons. Blaster turns into a radio and attempts to fight them with the power of his rock, and seems absolutely surprised that this car ran him over. Yeah, Blaster's cool and all, but he's not exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer. Silverbolt's idiotic argument actually works on the aerial bots, and they swoop in to save the day. And then the super cool stuff happens. The Stunticons combine into one giant robot called Menasor. Finally, a combiner that doesn't suck. Oh, and the aerial bots can do the same thing. They combine into Superion. So there's 2 combiners that don't suck. Somewhere Devastator's crying, I hope. Big green failure. Menasor manages to do what the aforementioned failure never could, which is to say he manages to win. He's only defeated when, surprise, Omega Supreme is assembled in the nick of time and jumps in to help. But one-on-one, Menasor beats Superion, which I just now realized is a lot more important to me than it probably should be. Before it's over, Silverbolt manages to overcome his fear of heights as he chases down Megatron and destroys the key to Vector Sigma, as seen in, you know. This actually wraps up all our loose ends, and that's how you write a kick-ass Transformers 2-parter.
Look, you guys. Optimus Prime placed me in charge of this team.
Yeah, well, Prime's as stupid as those humans.